Welcome in everyone to episode 117 of Instigate Success, Building an ABA Franchise, your official podcast of the Hoosier State Instigators. Your host, as always, Jake Schoen, aka Jakey Muffins, here to go over some Instigators news and ABA news. We've got some news keeps changing every minute, it seems like, for this upcoming weekend. And then we also have a lot to cover from this last weekend. We finally got our first games of 2026 underway. So we had some record breaking performances. So definitely a lot to cover in tonight's episode. But we'll start with last week and then work our way up to this week. And hopefully, by the time we work up to this week, we don't have any more news breaking at that point. But if you've been following us throughout the day on our socials, you've probably seen a bunch of different posts. And we'll make sure that we have the most up-to-date knowledge for you by the end of this show, so that way can everyone can plan accordingly for this weekend when it comes to the Instigators, as well as other ABA news. So let's get started with last week's games. We're going to jump over to the ABA site and pull up their schedule from this past week. And just a reminder again, it looks weird as far as the camera angle and such compared to the streams you've seen in the past. Um, Running this with just like stylus at this point, because the keyboard portion of the computer is not working. So everything is being run on that stylus, even the typing. So may go in and out sometimes. But thank you as always for everyone who joins us here on Instigate Success, whether you're catching that live here. I know we're over on YouTube live right now, or if you're catching this on a delay, listening to it as a podcast. We do appreciate your support each and every way here with the Apex Athletic Collective and the Hoosier State Instigators. All right. Get that pulled up. We're going to jump over there. A bunch of tabs open this week. Let's make sure we get the right one up here. All right. Yep, we've got this. All right. So last weekend, the 17th and 18th, we're going to take a look at those games first. And we do actually have news as far as the divisions as well. I've mentioned that the past few weeks. It looks like we do have kind of news on that. It wasn't super clear, but we have news as far as we're aware on that. So interesting. Another piece we'll go over. So looking at the games, we're gonna we were in the red division. We've seen that they have us listed in the blue division. We're still gonna cover teams in both of those divisions and the central region in general, as we have been. So St. Louis Spirit, Missouri Capitals, that was one of the games going on this past weekend. St. Louis Spirit 103-98 victory over the Capitals. So yeah, that one to start things off. 402 Elite looks like that is a forfeit against the North Tulsa Natives as far as that's displaying here. Scrolling through, the Austin Bats, not in our region, but one of the top-ranked national teams, 139 victory to 133 over the Texas Purple Kings. So a close game there for two in-state rivals, with Austin and the Purple Kings going at it. Also in the region and also nationally, one of the top ranked teams, undefeated, the Steel City Yellow Jackets, had another victory with a 159-95 win. Looking at the Chicago Fury, big win there for them, 183-79 over the Southwest Warriors. In the Ohio Kings Indiana Lions game, another top ranked team as far as the Ohio Kings. Only a couple of losses on them for the year. Both of those losses coming against the Nashville Aces, the number two ranked nationally team. As far as the last power rankings, we'll take a look here in a little bit as the updated power rankings. But a 130 to 103 victory there for the Kings. Let's see if we can break down the game there just a little bit further. Looks like there's not stats reported for the Lions. For the Kings, though, this is going to be surprising for most people here. Um, if you're familiar with the Kings, the guy that normally is the leader for the team, Cam Mitchell, there, 14 points. Still very efficient as far as that goes, but not the 50 points or 40 points that you're typically seeing from him in the past few years. But Courtney Ware, he's been one of their star players this whole year. He had 33 points leading the way for the team. And then we've got a double double there for Lackey, 10 points, 10 rebounds. And you got the Mitchell brothers, both of them with 6 assists leading the team there. But it also is interesting to note if you look at the starter designation, neither one of the Mitchells were listed as starters. Guys that we've normally seen over the past few years as starters for the team. Um, but regardless, the Kings with a pretty large victory there. That brings them to 9-2 on the season. That drops the Lions to 6-7 as far as their current record on the season. So that's another big victory for the Kings. That kind of solidifies themselves in that number two spot pretty solidly, I feel like. Unless obviously something drastic changes over the course of the next couple of months. I think that's pretty much going to be the number one and number two in that division with the Aces and the Kings. Then we've got some other games going on here. Let's see. Scrolling through. And we got the Silicon Valley Panthers, another one of the top ranked teams. I believe they're number three in the nation last time. 122-111 victory over the San Diego Suns. Um, you got that. And wow, look at this. I think this is their very first victory. And if it is, I do want to give them the shout out here. It looks like it is. Mississippi Delta Lucky Ducks. Looks like they've got their first victory under their belts now. 117-113 victory over the Knoxville Commerce. Lucky Ducks, one of the teams I give people a recommendation to follow over on the socials. They've started their first season. They've got their first win now on the season and in history for the Lucky Ducks. So shout out to them. A 40-point effort there from William Tribble. And a good overall team effort there. You got 1, 2, 3 guys with 14, another guy with 11. Then you got a double double there. It looks like from Moffitt with 14 and 11. But good victory there for the Lucky Ducks. Gets them on the winning column there for the first time. So shout out to them. Definitely a team that I like to keep an eye on there. And the Chattanooga Strike had another victory there, 136-118 over the Georgia Prime. And the Instigators game there, 185-127, the largest win in team history for the Instigators, or largest, I believe, largest margin of victory. Double check that, but highest number of points scored in team history in a game. I do know that for sure. Let's cut to this screen just for a second. I think that's going to show that. So there's the final graphic there, 185, 127. And there is one of the dunks from Steve Rogers, Captain America there, in that game. Obviously anytime we play the Shuckers, it's always a good game. And we were playing at the Shuckers facility. Um, the Crossroads Community Church, which has been, the Instigators' home court for one game temporarily, but always a great venue to be at anytime we are there. And always a friendly rivalry to say between the Shuckers and the Instigators. Obviously we had the preseason games the past few years, and now the Shuckers have some former instigators on the team. So always going to be a fun, kind of in-state friendly rivalry, and then obviously bragging rights between the two within the state. With the ABA having several teams in the state of Indiana, we're the only team with the Hoosier State name. There's a couple of teams with Indiana, not a couple. There's a few teams with Indiana. So far, we've got victories over all of the ones that we have played with that title, though. The Shuckers, obviously, we just beat. The I should clarify, within the past year and season, we have won all of those games. But we won that. We won against the Legends, and the other team, that's one of the breaking news things. The Lions, that's the other Indiana team. We'll have some info on that for you here in just a little bit. But anyways, 185. That's the highest scoring single point in franchise history as far as a point total goes for the team. So huge shout out everybody scoring on the floor. Obviously spread the ball there. You don't hit 185 without that happening, but definitely a culmination of what we've seen is capable for the Instigators. So big victory there. Obviously something that us as fans, owners, etc. Everybody is definitely happy to see that, and something that we feel we can continue to build on going into not only this week, but in the rest of the season. It's a big stepping stone, I think, for us, and kind of a benchmark now, knowing that we can be able to do that. So, going over to the games on Sunday, we have looks like a cancel game there between Knoxville. Steel City Yellow Jackets had another victory there, 156-115. And then we got another Instigators victory over the Shuckers. And this one was at home for the Instigators, at Best Choice Fieldhouse. So the home and away series was something we liked. When we were scheduling this year, something that obviously we wanted to have the double header weekends. So 160 to 99. Let's jump over to this one. So 160 to 99. First time, I believe, holding an opponent this year under that 100 mark. So great defensively for the Instigators. 160, obviously, another high scoring effort for the Instigators. And I think that's actually a higher margin of victory there. So 61-point victory. Um, and in this game, there were several former Instigators on the Shuckers. So I think there was four total. I have to double check, but I believe four total former Instigators in that game on the Shuckers. So always kind of again a friendly rivalry, in-state bragging rights, and then obviously with the former players, a little bit of maybe a grudge match for some of them. But I think it's all on friendly terms. It's not anything hostile. So always I think fun games to have between the Instigators and the Shuckers. Um, so that was the two games this past weekend, and that is significant as far as the record and standings go for the Instigators, starting off the year with two straight victories, sweeping the weekend. I think that's got to be our first time in history we've swept a weekend. Definitely the first time we've done it against the same opponent. So couple of cool things, couple of new things going on for the Instigators and record breaking things. Always cool to see. Um, so that's what we had this past weekend. Looking at the games scheduled for this weekend, which we're going to get into this whole thing here in a little bit. Um, you can see there's probably going to be on here. So tomorrow, Saturday the 24th, you see there's already a bunch of these zeros in here. If you're in an area that is expecting winter weather, you're probably familiar with why. Obviously, there's a widespread forecast of winter weather throughout the country, and a lot of games are going to be rescheduled and or canceled due to that. So a lot of these games are not going to take place in the way that it is scheduled. So that is something we're going to jump into here in just a little bit, but we're going to cover over stats and power rankings first, and then jump over more to that. And that's the breaking news that I've been saying as far as like throughout the whole day. If you've been keeping up, it's been changing pretty much every hour as far as what is on the schedule and whatnot. So we're gonna jump off of this, go back over to the scoring and whatnot. All right. So standings, we're going to take a look at the standings over here, and then we're also going to take a look when we jump over to the scheduling at another kind of ordering of these. So in the Alpha Conference Blue Division over in the Central region, ours, which now apparently that is the division that we are in. We can see, obviously this past weekend we had those 2 wins. That puts us at 5-3 according to the ABA. Steel City Yellow Jackets added a couple more wins, so they're 12-0. They're pretty solidly in that number one spot. I don't think that is kind of really a spot up for grabs at this point with how far ahead they are at this point. Lions, they drop another game that puts them at 6-7. So now they're under 500 because of the games they played. I guess they're above us. I'm not 100% sure how that works. Legends at 5-6, so they're going to be behind us. Aviators at 3-4, and the Shuckers with those losses dropped to 2-7. Over in the red division, which is the division we had been in, Aces stay at 13-0. Kings jump to 9-2. Again, those are kind of two solidified spots. I feel like the 1 and 2 in that division. Then you got Clarksville there at 5-5. Louisville Pros at 3-9, and Knoxville Commerce at 2-8. So Clarksville kind of got that spot for right now. And then the bottom half of the division still kind of up for grabs there. Over in the black division in the central region, I don't know how these tiebreakers work and whatnot. I would think Windy City is actually in first with an 11-1 record. The Chicago Fury 12-3. It's showing as first, but I don't think that's true. Chicago Knights there at 10-3. So all three of those teams kind of vying for that top spot. Then you got the Rebels and the Frost at 0-6 at the bottom half. In the white division, you got the 402 Elite at 7-3, with a pretty solid lead there in front of that division. North Tulsa Natives at 6-6, and then 2 wins for all of the remaining teams with the Western Oklahoma Bulls, St. Louis Spirit, and Missouri Capitals. Over in the East, we've got another undefeated team there, the New England Lightning. They are far ahead in their division, the Blue Division at 11-0. Next team there is the Coyotes at 9-7. The other two teams 1-10. In the white division, we've got the Buffalo Extreme at 13-0. Wyoming Valley Clutch at 12-0. So both those teams undefeated. And then the next teams would be the Binghamton Bulldogs 8-3, Philly Thunder at 7-4, Saratoga Racers at 6-5, and those are going to be all of your teams there with winning records. In the black division out in the east, we've got the Long Island Strong Arm at 9-2, also with 2 losses at 7-2 is Hartford Colts. Those two teams are going to be vying for the top spot there. In the red division out in the east, we've got the Edgewood 96ers at 10-2, leading the way pretty solidly there in that division. Richmond Ram Chargers 7-4, Delaware Dogs 6-3, DC Crank at 6-4. those are going to be all your teams with winning records in those divisions. Down south, we've got the Mississippi Silverbacks still undefeated there at 11-0. Gulf Coast Gladiators 8-4. Tri City Takeover 5-4. Those are your teams. As far as the with winning records, Lucky Ducks, as I noted, first win there again. Congratulations to them. Jumps them out of the last spot there in that division, jumping to the Blue Division in the South. We got the Austin Bats, another one of the top teams in the nation, 13-0, leading the way in the division. Alamo City All Stars 11-2, just behind them, and then we've got Midlothian Marshalls 6-6, followed by several teams under them. Texas Purple Kings also at 5-3 with a winning record. In the red division in the South, we've got the Atlanta Defenders at 12-1, leading the way. Chattanooga Strike close behind them at 10-2. Columbus Skyhawks 8-3. So all kind of close there as far as the top end of that division. In the white division in the South, we've got the Florida Tropics at 7-1, still leading the way there over the Lakeland Polk County Royals at 7-4. Those are your teams locally for me. And over in the West, we've got again all these crazy divisions. The Alpha Conference Division A, Las Vegas Royals leading the way at 9-5. New Mexico Bull Snakes at 5-2. So that's going to be interesting to see how things shake out as we go later on the season, with the Bull Snakes actually on pace right now for a little bit of a better record. In the Alpha Conference Division B, got the Guy Levy Legends at 12-4, showing at the top there, but also right behind them is going to be the San Diego Suns at 11-2, which I think is actually on pace, which should be on the top. Then the San Diego Mob at 10-2, Inland Empire Hounds at 7-3. All those teams kind of have shots there, assuming the records facilitate similarly as a spot vying for that top seed. In the Beta Conference Division B, we've got the San Jose teams, the Wolfpack at 5-5, and the Knights 0-13, looking for a first win. In the Beta Conference Division B, pretty much locked into that number one spot in that division is Silicon Valley Panthers, 13-0. The other teams in that division at 5-8 and 4-4. So that's what we got for standings on the ABA site. We're going to jump over and take a look at some other standings there. Let's look at the league leaders in some statistics, though. We got Dylan Cormier at 44.6 points per game for the Steel City Yellow Jackets. So within our division, the division we're in now, we've got the league's leading scorer. Central PA Kings, my hometown local team, Mook Bates at 43.1. Steel City Yellow Jackets also have the number 3 scorer in the nation at 41.8, Kenny Holmes Jr. Going down, it looks like Rodney Gaston Jr. for the Windy City Inferno, number 6, 36.7 points per game. And we also see on the Aces, we got George Stanberry at 33 points per game. Rebounds per game, still leading the way is Pierre Walters at 17.2. We've got Anthony Southers there in third for the Louisville Pros, 15.8. Windy City Inferno, we got Reggie Gallion at 14.9. I think that's all the guys within our region. Assists per game, we've got Cameron Moore at 14.4. Not familiar with that abbreviation. Let's take a look and see. Houston Red Storm. So Houston Red Storm. Take a look at some of his games here. Assists are crazy there. I mean, look at this. His lowest game is 11, so at least double digits in all of these. But 13, 15, 13, 13, 19, 11, 17, 28. Yeah, 28 assists in one game. That's 24 points, 13 rebounds, 28 assists. It's crazy, 28 assists, 14, 15, 15. So definitely can see why he is up there at the top. Dominique Williams, the Louisville Pros, 11.4, number 3 in the nation. DJ Little tied there with Shamar Overstreet at 5 and 6. Little for the Aces, Shamar for the Pros. Steel City Yellow Jackets, Kenny Holmes at number 8 at 9 and 9. George Stanbury for the Aces at 9.3 assists per game. Steals per game, we've got Dominique Williams leading the nation at 8.3. Impressive number there. And we've also got Shamar Overstreet with 4.9, number 8 within our region, and DJ Little for the Aces at 3.6. So those are going to be your stats there for stat leaders in the ABA. We are going to jump over to the graphic here with the standings. So these are the updated standings as far as I do see within the ABA for the past week. They updated it, it looks like, and somehow when they updated it, they like made this graphic all weird looking. If not, then I got this from somebody that altered it. So hopefully that's not the case, because that's what I'm going off of. And on the website, it's not pulling the power rankings graphic for me, which is normally where I just go to do it. So I'm assuming this is correct from where I got it, and that it's not altered further than what the ABA had already altered it as. So number one, still tied, is the Buffalo Extreme and Austin Bats, 13 and 0 each. Again, I don't know how they decide how there's a tie for which spots and what there's not. Anyways, they still got both of them number one tied. Don't think you can really change that at this point because it's been so long they've had that. Nashville Aces at number 2, 14 and 0. Silicon Valley Panthers 13 and 0. Wyoming Valley Clutch 12 and 0. New England Lightning 11 and 0. Steel City Yellow Jackets 12 and 0. And the Mississippi Silverbacks 11 and 0. Those are all your undefeated teams. That's going to be 1 through number 7. How they decide which of these undefeated teams are above each other, I don't really know. Again, I think these are always up for debate. Buffalo Extreme took down the defending champions. They were the first to do so. They always were in the top 10-ish, I would say, within the past couple of years. So I think that makes sense to have them up there. They were also in the Final Four this past year, the year prior. So makes sense. Austin Bats also impressive the last year as well. So it makes sense to have them up there. How they got tied, I don't know. Nashville Aces have won every game, and they've won pretty handedly. They've also beaten a number of teams here in the top 25 power rankings. Makes sense for them to be at that number 2 spot. Silicon Valley Panthers, you can make the same argument as the Extreme and the Bats over the past few years, consistently up in those top of the power rankings, and they also were in the Final Four last year. Wyoming Valley and the rest of the teams there, all undefeated. Again, I guess you can make arguments as far as rearranging any of those. Then we jump to the number 8 spot. We've got tied for the number 8 spot the Windy City Inferno and the Atlanta Defenders, both at 12 and 1. Then we've got the San Diego Suns at 10 and 1 at number 9, and the Florida Tropics at number 10 in the nation for the first year team with a 9 and 1 record. So again, that makes sense. You got these teams undefeated, 1-loss teams just behind them, goes by number of wins. Get that. Then we got a couple of losses on the next few teams. Alamo City All-Stars, Chattanooga Strike, Edgewood 96ers, 11, 12, 13. Chicago Fury at number 14 at 12 and 3. Definitely, they get the benefit of the doubt there with being the past champions of the past 2 years and also being undefeated the past 2 years. I will, as again, note, I think that it is interesting, though, to put it in one way, that the Chicago Fury are number 14 and the Ohio Kings are number 17. Ohio Kings at 9 and 2. Their 2 losses on the season, both against the number 2 team in the nation, the Nashville Aces. And the Ohio Kings have a head-to-head win over the Chicago Fury. Just stating facts. That's all I'm going to say. So that's what I feel on that one. Chicago Knights, we're skipping over a couple of these, but Chicago Knights at number 18, just behind the Kings, 10-3. Um, yeah, tied for 21st. We got 402 Elite, 7-3. And that's going to be all your teams out in the East. I'm not sorry, in the East, in the Central region. I don't know where I jot the East there, but there's your top 25 there. Again, assuming that this graphic I got is the updated correct graphic, we're just going to assume so. So that's what we're going with. So we're gonna stop sharing that. All right. So going into the rest of the season here, obviously, if you've been following us and the ABA throughout the past 3 seasons that we've been a part of the past 2 seasons, this is our 3rd season in the ABA. You'll know one thing that always seems to happen is scheduling changes, unfortunately, obviously, but it's a fluid situation in the ABA. Teams fold, rescheduling, this and that, venues and a bunch of different things, all sorts of things, reasons why. But it's something that, always seems to happen year in and year out. So I know I said I was going to have the schedule uploaded and posted and shared this week. I I had it. I have the graphic. We're actually going to pull up this graphic here. We're always transparent on this broadcast and as a team, as ownership and whatnot. So we're going to pull up the graphic I had and I had scheduled to be posted this week so everybody could see what our new schedule was. Okay. So we're going to start with that. And let's go with we're going to go with our home games first. I have it split between home and away games, just because obviously there was some changes for each of them, and I thought it was easier to split the two. So let's go to the home games first. So this was going to be our updated home game schedule, and obviously I added the W there. We had the win on this past Sunday against the Shuckers, and this is what our schedule was looking like going into this week. Um, this one. So then we had the game scheduled against a top 25 opponent there, the Windy City Inferno. That was supposed to be happening tomorrow night at 7. We had an alternate venue scheduled, at Indianapolis. I don't want to mistakenly say the wrong name. I know that was something that we wanted to make sure we had the right name when we say this. So the game had been scheduled at Stanley Strader Park in Indianapolis. That game is now off. We've had rescheduled. So we're gonna jump into that wormhole, going down that, and as far as the rescheduling. So this one is no longer on schedule for tomorrow Saturday the 24th at 7. That is off the schedule. If you keep up with us on social, we have the most up-to-date information. That is also the reason why I did not post this. I knew this was kind of up in the air. I'm here in Florida. It's nice and warm. It's sunny. It's 70. I'm not in the areas of the country right now where the weather is less than that. So I know the weather's been a topic of discussion all throughout the pretty much the rest of the nation. And that is why I hadn't posted that, because I knew it was kind of up in the air. So more info, we'll go into that as far as rescheduling and whatnot after we take a look at these two graphics I had made, which I'm going to have to edit, and then hopefully next week we'll have them out early in the week, at least for what we do have confirmed. So scratch that game against the Inferno. Taking a look there, cool thing we got coming up. That's next weekend. Yeah, next weekend, February 1st, 4:30 p.m. at Best Choice Fieldhouse. We are going to have our rescheduled motorsports night. We're going to start making posts about that. You'll see a bunch of stuff about that over the next week as well. But we're really looking forward to that. Everything should still be on track as far as what we were planning on doing. So that is going to be a fun game. Again, that is presented by Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park. Obviously, if you were out at the races there this past year, you could have seen us at some of those events. But really looking forward to Motorsports Night. That is next weekend. As far as I know, assuming there's nothing crazy going on with weather next weekend. The next home game after that will be Sunday, February 15th. That is against an opponent we have never played and not somebody that was on our original schedule. Again, this is always a fluid situation. Hesselbucket. So Hesselbucket, that'll be our first time playing them. We're really looking forward to that matchup there as well. Again, that's also going to be on a Sunday at 4:30. Then we've got on Sunday, February 22nd, so the very next Sunday after that, 4:30 p.m. Same thing against the Ohio Kings, one of the top ranked teams in the nation. Somebody we're still looking to get our first win against. But we got that on the schedule there. And our last home game of the year is currently scheduled for Saturday, February 28th against the Missouri Capitals. Um, at 7 p.m. So more of the traditional Saturday night games that you have been used to. You can scan that QR code once we get that graphic posted, and you can see there's also a weird spacing difference. I don't know how, but I'm using just the stylus to do everything. Also, I don't know what happened with the King's styling as far as the text on that, so I have to touch it up just a little bit before we get that posted. Update the one obviously that has been rescheduled. But again, that's why we haven't posted that because it was still kind of some things up in the air. I just wanted to make sure. But once we get it posted, we'll have at least everything we can confirmed. But I did want to share this again for everybody that joins us here on Instigate Success. You get the inside scoop on all this type of stuff. So let's jump over. Again, that's what we have as far as I'm aware on the home games. Other than what we're going to jump into for rescheduling that we have some more info on. Away games. Let's jump over to that. So away games, yep, we got that graphic up there. So this past weekend, we had the win against the Shuckers. Again, that's the record for most points in a game in Instigator's history, franchise record. And then this Sunday, we were supposed to have a road game in Nashville against the number 2 team in the nation, the Aces. It would have been a very good matchup to see. Unfortunately, same type of thing, winter weather going on. And that game is unfortunately going to be rescheduled. TBD as far as all that goes. But I'm sure if you're in the region, you know how cold it is and how bad the weather it is. But I looked it up. I didn't realize some parts of the nation. I know Windy City is up in Chicago. They're in the negatives right now. That's extremely cold. I've been in the negatives before. Obviously living in Syracuse, um, not fun. So definitely don't want to be out in that, especially if you got snow. Not fun to travel in, and so scratch that one. The Sunday, the January 20 or yeah, Sunday, January 25th game. Scratch that one. Uh, got a different game though, as far as if you were looking at the original schedule. Saturday, February 7th against the Clarksville Phoenix. I don't think we've played the Phoenix in a couple of years. The last time I think we did match up against the Phoenix was our play-in game from our first season, where they defeated us and knocked us out of the playoff contention. Obviously maybe a little bit of a revenge game, you could say, for that one. Friendly rivalry type of thing. But it'll be cool to play the Phoenix again. And that's going to be our first time playing them at their court. So that's a new game as far as the schedule goes. And then we've got the Kings on the 14th of February, Saturday. So again, still got a couple more games scheduled against the Kings. Then our last away game. I don't know why it's got that 4:30. I might have to double check that. I don't know if the 4:30 is correct. But again, we're going to update these before we get posted. But the Inferno will be taking on the Inferno Sunday, February 22nd. So that is our away schedule as far as we know when I made that graphic. Again, we're going to jump into the rescheduling here in just a minute, but that's what we got. So again, we're transparent, we're upfront. We like to let you guys know what we've got. I'll get these out next week, this upcoming week, with a little bit more updates on there. Um, But that's what we got as far as what we had been working on, and I was going to be posting this week for the schedule. So it's not that we didn't want to post the schedule. We want to do. We just it's a fluid situation. You don't want to post it, repost it, make updates, so on and so forth. That's also why we posted the one thing with the game for this week. Then we haven't posted another one specifically with our stuff. So where I am going to recommend everyone to go and to follow, these guys deserve this shout out for sure. I know I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again, and I'm going to mention it this time again. And we're gonna jump over to their site so you guys can see exactly why I recommend this. So not only would I recommend, obviously, if you don't already follow the instigators, we're going to be sharing and posting any up to date info we have in regards to our own team always, but also within our region and division. Go and check out and follow Minotaur Streaming. They are super helpful when it comes to that. So go over to their website, their social medias. They are amazing. They also do broadcasting and graphics. So amazing people that I would recommend that you go over and follow. Super helpful when it comes to all this. So minotaurstreaming.com is their website. You can follow them on socials to keep up with them over there too. And they are amazing with what they do. They have they keep track of the central region, red division, and the blue division. They started off with just that red division because all the teams they had were in the red division that we followed. Then they split the red and the blue division, this and that. So now they're doing both. So huge shout out there. So schedule adjustments here. We're gonna jump over to their page here, and you can see there they've got that cool weather infographic thing. Um, Not that I understand what some of this means, but I get the precipitation, snow, whatnot. Um, so obviously, lots of rescheduling. They also, big game within the um, ABA that was scheduled for this week. Two undefeated teams, the number one team in the nation, Buffalo Extreme, was supposed to take on number 6 Steel City Yellow Jackets, but that game has been postponed, and they did share that it will be Sunday, February 15th in Pittsburgh. So as far as the other games that have been postponed, obviously nothing else to announce. The big update, though, is the Instigators and Lions. So we are scheduled to tentatively play the Lions tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Eastern in Danville if the snow and weather is not too bad. So there is a chance we have a game this weekend. That game is going to be against the Lions. This is different than what we had scheduled, obviously. There's also, if you were keeping up with all of the updates throughout the day and throughout throughout the day, there was even a brief period of time where we had a game scheduled for Sunday, possibly against the Legends. That was again up in the air depending on stuff, and that one also is not going to happen. So the only one that is currently on schedule to take place, again, weather depending, tomorrow is the Instigators against the Lions at Danville, in Danville at 5 p.m. Again, keep an eye out. Any kind of updates we'll be sharing. The Lions will be sharing. Minotaur will be sharing. All three of them, follow and keep up to date with as far as that goes. And do an amazing job here. So they've got this graphic here for the games within the red division. All of the games have been postponed. For the Aces, the scheduled game against the Lions there, obviously with the traveling that gets postponed. Commerce and Fury postponed. Kings and Pros postponed. Then obviously we mentioned the Instigators and Aces game scheduled for Sunday postponed. In the blue division, you can see all these postpones on here too. Aces Lions postponed. Um, and it's going to be some of these are doubles because they split the teams up that were in the same division. Aces and Lions used to be same division. Now it's two separate divisions. 402 Elite and Shuckers postponed. Extreme and Yellow Jackets, as we mentioned, also postponed. Inferno Instigators, obviously, we've already mentioned, postponed. 402 Elite and Legends, that one is also postponed. Instigators Aces, as mentioned before, postponed. That other game I mentioned, the Instigators Legends, that one also postponed. Aviators somehow knew that the weather is not going to be nice this weekend and decided to be idle. Smart thinking there. So the only one currently on schedule is tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Eastern in Danville. Instigators going on the road, short road trip to Danville to take on the Lions. Not a game that was originally on the schedule. Always cool, I think, to kind of throw these games on as we can, because we didn't have a game on the schedule against the Lions, but they're kind of a friendly rivalry team, obviously bragging rights within the state and now in the division as well. Obviously with the standings, and this is the other cool thing with Minotaur. We've got the standings right here. We're just going to jump over to their standings tab. Amazing job by them putting this graphic together. Steel City Yellow Jackets at 12-0. Instigators 5-2, and again, they're going to use as far as their records. They use what the teams say, not necessarily what's showing on the ABA website. You can see there sources. The ABA website is obviously going to be the number one they go to. Personal knowledge and verification from team reps is how they verify each and all of these standings and records. So right now we are the number 2 team in our division. Obviously, that is huge for us. We've got the 2 wins to start off the year, puts us at 5-2. I think that's got to be our best standing that we've had this deep into a year, into the season at 5-2. Um, so right below us is going to be the Lions at 6-7. So with a win here, obviously that's a big jump for us. It's going to put us a solid spot ahead of the Lions. That if we are able to do that, that would jump us to 6-3, which would put us 4 games ahead of the Lions. That's a pretty big margin. So obviously, big game on the line for that. If we drop that, that drops us to 5-3, and that would put the Lions back at 500 at 7-7. So record-wise, we'd still technically have a better record. But going down the road, tiebreaker-wise, they'd have that over us. Legends, we have the victory over. So right now, 5-6, we've got the tiebreaker over them. Akron Aviators, we don't have a game scheduled against. They're at 3-4, and the Shuckers at 2-7. So realistically, looking at where we stand right now, we're in a very good spot at 5-2. If we get a victory this weekend, that jumps us to 6-2, 6-3 if you go by what the APA site says. That would put us in a pretty solid spot looking at the rest of the schedule. Obviously, I think when we look at that, that almost could, it's not going to lock us into the number 2 spot, but it puts us in a really good position to be in that number 2 spot if we're able to secure a victory tomorrow, weather permitting, obviously, against the Lions. So, that's been one of the things, I think we've been adamant about this year on the ownership level is, and obviously fans every year in and year out, we want to see the Instigators in the playoffs. If we get that number 2 spot in the standings for our division end of year, that is going to put us in a really good position to lock ourselves into a playoff spot for the very first time. And also with this new division, we are in the blue division. We might be traveling out to Pittsburgh. So it's just also a fun side note to throw in there. They've also got the standings for the red division. I clicked on the wrong thing. Red standings. So this is where we had been. This is now the red separate. Nashville Aces 14-0, pretty solidly in that number 1 spot. Ohio Kings 9-2, pretty solidly in that number 2 spot. Those 2 teams again pretty much locked themselves in there. Clarksville Phoenix at 5-5, Knoxville Commerce 5-7. So those 2 are kind of still up in the air to see. Louisville Pros at 3-9. They could also make a run as far as jumping over the Commerce there. A little bit more work, though, for them to jump up to where the Phoenix are. But again, looking at the standings, again, I think we're in a good spot. If we could get a victory tomorrow against the Lions, that puts us in a real nice spot, I think, going down the road. We're going to have 2 tough games against the Kings. So if we drop both of those, we're still going to have some leeway. Again, we got a tough game against the um, Inferno. If we get the game rescheduled against the Aces, those are all going to be tough games. So that's going to be, kind of the little padding. I feel like if we do get that win against the Lions tomorrow, um, but that is. Sure, I got all the graphics I needed to hit. Yeah. So that is what we've got. As far as the standings, the scheduling, the updates, and whatnot, so on, so forth. Again, I would highly recommend if you don't already follow on social media, keep up to date with and follow Minotaur Streaming again. Just an amazing platform. I feel like that deserves the shout out and recognition for what they do. Keeping up to date with the Central Region, Red Division, and Blue Division in the ABA, and sharing all that news and knowledge, as well as broadcasting games too. Um, you know, so check them out. Be sure to follow them as well as obviously our socials to keep up to date with any Instigators news for not only games this weekend, tomorrow, but also for future games as well. So, weather permitting, hopefully we see you guys out in Danville tomorrow as we take on the Lions for an divisional matchup in the Blue Division, bragging rights of the state as well. If we beat the Lions, we beat the three other teams that I'm aware of that play in the state of Indiana. I have to check and see if there's any other teams, but the three that I'm aware of at least. So bragging rights on the table. Obviously, then it would be the Hoosier State for the second straight year. Last season, we actually pulled off the feat where we beat all of the teams in the state of Indiana that we played. So looking to hopefully do that again this year, tomorrow, this season. Um, but I think things are definitely looking up after this past weekend's games, record-breaking performances. There is, if you haven't already checked it out, over on YouTube, we did put up some highlights from the game on this past Saturday, so you could see some of the efforts in that record-breaking single game franchise record as far as points scored. Um, so got that for you too. So some footage from that. I think the full game from Sunday is getting uploaded. If it hasn't been already uploaded, that will eventually, I believe, get uploaded there as well. But I think that's going to be it for tonight's episode 117 of Instigate Success, Building an ABA Franchise, your official podcast of the Hoosier State Instigators. We'll be back again every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Next weekend, again, assuming everything goes as scheduled, Motorsports Night is going to be Sunday, February 1st, 4:30 p.m. Super excited for that. I will be there. It's going to be fun. If everything again stays on the table, nothing crazy happens. We're going to have tons of fun. Celebrity player, maybe a show car, um, photo ops, posters, fun. Lots and lots of fun. We're really looking forward to that. You'll see posts throughout this upcoming week on social, not only for that, making some further announcements and sharing details and whatnot on that. Hopefully, we got the updated schedules that I can get posted out as well. So keep an eye out for that for both the home and away games for the rest of 2026. And then if there is a game, then obviously we're going to have some share the results of that game too. So keep an eye out on socials. Stay up to date with us throughout the week. But until then, as always, thank you for joining us and be great. And it's